So, welcome back to another episode of AI Unplugged. Today, I'm joined by Daniel Calcott, founder and CEO of the Digital DRA, a company changing how debt collection works by a focus on resolution, not recovery. For building in lockdown to serving more than 40 plus clients, Daniel scaled with trust, empathy, and AI without cutting corners. Daniel, great to have you on the show. How are you, my friend?
Thanks for having me, Martin. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm always good. It's a choice you make every morning.
Good.
Somebody told me. Thanks for joining. Let's dive directly into it. Daniel, you built a DRA during lockdown from your front room. What was the initial insight that made you believe that the industry needed a different kind of debt resolution company?
Yeah, so when the idea of the digital DRA first came about, it was originally the digital DCA. And the only reason I started kind of working and writing down the concepts and my ideas and everything I was thinking was because at the time it was COVID, I was unemployed and I was stuck at home and couldn't do what else. So I started jotting down the ideas. I managed to convince Stuart Elliott, who's now my business partner, to join me in building this out. And then, we'd actually started designing and building out a lot of the software that we now use today. And like I said, we're originally digital DCA. And then it was I don't know, it was like a light bulb moment where I wanted to get the balance right of hitting the market with a bang, essentially something new, like a new concept. But then at the same time, we were coming out of COVID, and obviously there were a lot in the news, people struggling, things looking a bit dull for a lot of people. And a lot of people were now falling behind with payments that had never struggled with arrears or missed payments before, who potentially never had any sort of engagement with debt collection agency before. And it were almost like, well, what we're building here is a less intrusive way of contacting people, meeting people where they want to be met. And we want to make it as positive customer journey as we can. And debt collection didn't fit that. So I remember I rang Stuart saying, I want to rebrand, because we had all the logos and everything. We had it all ready. I was like, I want to change it to resolution and drop collection.
So it actually came
Thankfully, he agreed.
Under tough times. You saw there was like the market was changing, people habits were changing. It was a different kind of customers coming in that had problems.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is essentially where the idea came from. I believed, because even working in the debt collection industry, obviously when you get that exposure to it, you start to understand that debt collection agencies do a lot more than just payments and collect debt. So I've always thought that the debt collection terminology wasn't the best anyway. And then to people that don't work in the industry, you'll rarely find someone that has something positive to say about debt collection. And I wanted us to shift away from that. And obviously from the back of that, we've dived headfirst into that brand. And that's essentially what we've used then to push our message for the last nearly 5 years now.
It's a bold move to go in a different direction than the market, but it's also, I think, something that you saw quite early, and I think it will make a big change. And the journey that you are on, I think more will follow that as we go. What made you hold off on launching until you secured FCA authorization?
And again, this was part of the launch strategy when we were talking about how to enter the market with the biggest bang possible. Obviously, the brand were a large part of that. Yeah. Our two key differentiators were essentially as brand and our approach, because we were the first to kind of say we're digital only. We're not digital only anymore. We do have calling capability in there, but at the time we didn't have any calling capability. So the approach was, in terms of that digital only element, entirely self-serve. And if you want to speak to us, it's via digital contact channels. We were kind of the first to push that as well. So the two key differentiators were the brand and approach. And we kind of thought, to enter the market with the biggest bang possible, if we ensure that we've got all the regulatory licenses that we need, that'll essentially let us hit the ground running. Thankfully, that only took us 6 months, because I heard when we first started that process, people were telling me it's going to take a long time, and I was like, because we didn't have any money either. So I'm like, right, well, we don't really have the time to be sat around waiting on licenses, but we just kind of plugged away at it step by step, and thankfully we got through it quite quickly. Like I said, just under 6 months. And as soon as we got the green light on the authorization, literally the day after, everything was lined up to just go. So we didn't wait around.
And that leads me maybe down to something that is quite remarkable. And I think your journey is looking a lot like the journey I'm on right now. And you needed to secure all these things. And while that, you are warming up and you're building and you're understanding the market. And then you hit like a band. And that's what you did over in your team over there, because you grow to nearly 40 clients in under 3 years. What were the most, like, maybe 2 or 3 critical choices you made in those early days that allow this traction to happen?
Yeah, so I think the first one's the brand, because I think that and I talk a lot about branding and marketing and how that feeds into almost everything that we do. Living and breathing the resolution, not collection value is essentially what we have designed and built our entire infrastructure around. So that was definitely a critical point. And then I think we got lucky in the sense that there were some clients that really believed in us and what we were trying to do, so they were willing to take a chance on us. And I think that mainly came down to, because at the time we didn't have a proven product, we didn't have a proven strategy. It was driven by belief that, like, I genuinely believe this will work, this will be better. And thankfully, they believed in us. So they were, in the first 12, 18 months, there were a few critical points there around essentially going around the country trying to convince people that what we've built will work. Because there were always the niggling doubt in the back of my mind that, will it actually work? Or is this just a pipe dream? Like, because when push comes to shove, these clients need the money back, they need their accounts resolving. So will this super nice, friendly, non-intrusive approach stack up against a traditional debt collection agency when all the dust is settled? Thankfully, 4 years on, nearly 5 years on, I can now confidently say yes, because we compete against some of the largest debt collection agencies in the country now, and we're more than hold us on. So yeah, that brand piece for us were essential. That's kind of what got us through those early days.
I think it's super inspiring to hear, and for the audience out there, people going to startups. For me, on a personal level, going through that journey, you're saying things, I'm smiling, I'm going around for 6-7 months, or kind of, I don't know where, to just say, hey, this is a good idea, and to convince people, and then also being able to see you sit on the other side and actually finishing off with saying 4 or 5 years in, still compete. It works. We compete with the biggest player, and you are a disruptor in an industry. And I think that's a very, very interesting thing in an industry, because debt collection is not typically known for innovation. How did you navigate product development in like such a compliance heavy environment? Because that was for me when I entered that, like, wow, that's crazy. How did you navigate in that one?
Yeah, well, so compliance is a love-hate relationship with me. So I had to learn. So my background is not in compliance, so I practically learned on the job. So when me and Stuart were doing all the nice product design, process design, building out, doing the branding, that's all the fun, happy stuff that me and Stuart love to be involved in. But then there came a point where we're like, oh, Stuart, you carry on with that. I've now got to break away and understand what the crack is here. And thankfully, there were a lot of people that were willing to help me along the way, which I'd never been able to do any of it without them. So I'll always be grateful to those people, and they know they are. So yeah, we managed to get support along the way. And sometimes I do look back and think I have no idea how we managed to do it that quickly. But then it comes back to that, like failure wasn't an option, and we didn't have time to sit around. We are still a self-funded startup company. We've never borrowed a penny externally. And at the time, like I say, I was unemployed. I had not a lot of money in the bank. So it was like, failure wasn't an option. So we just had to take things as they come and just essentially tackle everything that came our way as and when it did. And then, so that's kind of where we're at there. Nowadays, obviously things have got a little bit easier because the team's grown. Got Hannah, who's fantastic, who holds the reins day to day, but I still work very closely with Hannah. And I think for me, the compliance bit, whilst it's not my background, it came relatively easily to me because what we were trying to build were always customer focused anyway. Yeah. So it was like it wasn't like, oh, we've built this, does it fit into what compliance or regulation we've got to follow? It was almost like the products and service that we were building were always outcomes focused. Before consumer duty, we were always prioritizing customer service and customer experience from the start. So it aligned quite well. And like I said, the resolution, not collection value, is essentially what we use to measure everything that we do here in terms of product design, service design. That's kind of the primary driver behind every decision we make.
But you love it now, I guess.
The heavy lifting got a lot easier.
Yeah, you love it now. I got to love it. You come to love compliance down the road. I think it become a competitive advantage down the road, and it's getting more easy. Yeah. And I love what you said. I love some of the things you actually highlighted during the last little period about you had customers that believed in you from the beginning, that wanted to be a part of that journey, shape the company. I think that's super important. And that comes down to the team running your company, that people believe in the team before you have a product, that these people will succeed in what they want to do. And then again, that you had people on your journey. I also have people on my journey. Without them, I would have been lost in compliance, and customers have been so helpful to, being a part of that. And that's where I think you build a strong mindset, a strong company spirit, actually. Can you walk us through a time where product decision then clash with compliance or empathy? Now you talked a little bit upon, building customer centric but where did you have some clashes to what you were building, and then oh my God, there is some compliance in the way here, or how to actually create empathy, vulnerabilities, and how did you resolve those issues along the way?
Yeah, so for us, one of the most complicated hurdles that because we're very focused on the self-serve and the digital element of our business, and that's how we've chosen to service customers, and all of the data supports that's how customers want to engage with businesses in general, but definitely debt collection. One of the hardest things is to evidence that your digital self-serve journey is getting the same or just as good or better outcome than if they manually spoke to one of the team, either via the digital contact channels or on the phone. So that's one thing that we've had to do a lot of groundwork in over the last 18 months is really understanding the outcomes that customers are achieving in the digital space compared to when we're manually managing accounts. That and obviously off the back of that requires a few alterations, and like I think It's little things like, so at the start, it's little things like adding intentional friction into some of the customer journeys to ensure that people are just coming in and flying through it as quickly as you can without really understanding what's going on. So intentional friction in the sense of affordability pop-ups. Make sure customers are slowing down and confirming that what they're agreeing to is affordable to them. Ticking those boxes. It's little things like that on the face of it, you want as many people to come online and convert as quickly as possible, but without adding that intentional friction in, you're running the risk of not doing the right thing by the customer. So it's almost like in a customer service or customer experience design, with a design hat on, you're slowing that and adding obstacles and barriers to conversion. But from a compliance perspective, it's a must-have, because you need to be able to evidence that you're communicating everything to customers just as you would if it was on the phone or via email. That's kind of where a lot of in terms of compliance, the crossover comes into product design. It's around ensuring customers are getting the right outcomes the first time they come as well. That's kind of where that shaped a lot of the customer journeys within our self-serve portal.
Yeah. You spoke a little bit also when you're building products, you are going through a lot of different processes to figure out what is the next to build, and how do you have like a framework, and what framework is that when you say, okay, let's evaluate what is the next big like thing to build in around us? What framework is that?
Yes. So I think so. From day one, it was feeling. We think this will work well. This we like the look of that. That sounds cool. Let's plug that in. Let's do this, and that's kind of how we built out. And essentially, we kind of had key conversation flows, and it was like, well, how do I turn this conversation into an online experience? And we just built it out like that. But it essentially, that were all based on feeling and what we thought would work. Now we're fortunate enough to have a lot of data that sits behind that. So we're able to track various metrics and where people are getting stuck, where particular hot points on our website are. And that kind of then shapes some of the layout, the positioning, what if there's a particular underperforming customer journey, what more can we do to try improve that, make sure people understand it a little bit more. So the data now drives critical decisions within the key customer service journeys. That's kind of where we're at now. But obviously, a challenge there was, how do we understand that data? We need to capture it, but then we found ourselves a couple of years ago with all this data, but what are we meant to do with it? Like, your data is only as good as your ability to understand it and manipulate it and kind of really get into it and see what's happening. So that was quite a big challenge a few years ago to have that in a format that we could understand and create actions off the back of.
I don't think there's any other way to build, as you also said, that you begin with a feeling, you have some ideas, you want to, revolutionize a process, you see this, and then you begin to work with the data and where is the gaps and where can we fill in that. I'm looking forward to us entering that level also into our journey where you begin to do it.
Yeah.
But you also actually, we've been talking for a long time back and forward, and you have been taking deliberately cautious approach to AI and voice technology right now, and say, what is the biggest misconception you think that other founders have when like rushing AI into their customer workflows? Because you have not been one of those. And
I think so. So for me, it was, yes, I've taken a very deliberate, cautious approach to integrating AI into our business. We do utilize it in a lot a lot of areas, but it's particularly the customer-facing stuff that worries me for a few reasons. I think whilst AI's amazing, it's the pace in which it's developing is unbelievable. I don't think anybody's ever seen anything like it. So it will absolutely get there. But I worry that people potentially see it as the be all and end all and the answer to all the problems, when in reality, if you overlay some fancy AI model or large language model over a bit of a broken foundation, it's only going to make the problem worse. Than it's not going to fix the problem. So for us, the focus was on setting the foundation to then be able to build and plug AI into to then streamline and improve. So we've really focused on having that solid foundation, which has taken some time. So yeah, it's the foundation for me were always the priority. And then now we've started slowly integrating AI into some of the back office processes that help with a lot of the automation. It means that we don't have to grow the team as quickly as we potentially would have, in line with how fast the company's grown. And then now we're starting to test the water with customer-facing AI, and we've been working on that for the last 12 months. But then it's about being able to integrate customer-facing AI whilst always keeping human in the loop. We're not in a position, and I can guarantee that we're as a business, we will not be letting AI automatically respond to customers in anytime soon. It's more, how can these AI tools assist our agents?
Boom.
So
I think Daniel,
that's kind of where we're at.
I think you got it right. Sometimes people and customer reach out and say, "Hey, I want to have you. Can you go in? And if I said yes today, in the next month, could you do email, chat, voice?" And it's like there is no quick fix. It's not a sprint. It's a long marathon, and you start there and you take it slowly. And and I know. Like, it's not better than the input. You need to have a structure. You need to have your team members on board. You need to have small bits. I'm always telling my clients, just start here. Just start here. Let's not talk about where we can go with it in the next 12 months. Let's start fixing one problem, do one customer experience even more valuable. Let's convert, let's connect, let's customer satisfaction measuring a little bit on this part. And when we get that right, next step. I think it's the only way. And you said something else really, really great that, I am a strong believer on, which leads me down to my next questions. How do you make sure AI assist agents, and you just said a little bit, without replacing them? Because I think that is actually a lot of the talk out there, and I am a strong believer that there is a huge need for human interactions. But how do we make sure that this stay in line and also protect, because it is a sensible subject in general, to make sure that that's not happening?
Yeah, and there's a couple of ways we've done this, and I think keeping human in the loop, especially within our industry, is super important, because our industry essentially lives and dies on trust.
Yes,
we're doing all this stuff around brand to promote positive engagement and get customers to feel comfortable engaging with us. If we run before we can walk with these super fancy language models, we potentially jeopardize that trust, which again then feeds into the negative perception of debt collection in general. So having human in the loop safeguards that, I think, which is priority number one for us. Ways in which we've started to have AI tools that are assisting agents. The first one was essentially a customer sentiment kind of score that we're essentially scanning inbound communications from customers and placing a sentiment score on them based on the tone of the message, what they were saying, and picking up on keywords, flagging particular vulnerabilities, complaints, whatever it was. That then provided prompts to the agent to aid them in their response when replying to the customer. We've gone a little bit further now in the sense that we have an AI model that sits over all of our inbound contact channels, and essentially as an example, if an agent opens an email, they'll have the customer email and they will have an AI generated response to that email, and that is based on our compliance framework, previous account history, the customer's sentiment when they've responded, and the agent's job, and it is 100% still that agent's responsibility when replying to that customer, is to kind of tailor that and make sure that the message is appropriate and kind of add in and tailor accordingly. But that responsibility still sits with the agent. Yeah. The AI model is there to make their job a little bit easier, and maybe pick up on things that they might have missed, because some of the emails we get can be quite lengthy. Customers can be making comments and statements about multiple things, so it's important that we pick up on those. The responsibility still sits with the agent, but there's tools there that make their life that little bit easier.
I simply love that. That's one of my biggest narrative. You said remove things that are not relevant for them to do, and prepare them, elevate their skill set, give them the tools. And let me bring a little bit what you said and back to the first beginning of your AI journey, because as you said, you implemented sentiment and score and in AI assisted responses. I also did that now, but on a personal level for myself, just in my communication. But what measurable results in that period, in the beginning of your period, did you see so far, and what actually surprised you the most of those results that you haven't actually expected?
Well, I think obviously the first thing, the reason behind the customer sentiment was it was building on the brand and the trust and the empathy part of our business, that we wanted to be able to highlight that and use that to then, for agents to then take that extra second to just kind of look at what's going on in the account, look at how the customer's potentially feeling, and consider that in your response. So from a customer experience point of view, it enabled us to kind of show a little bit more empathy in some circumstances. And then I think now we've started to lean into some of them language models and the keyword flagging. It's making us a lot more efficient. So we're still a very small team. We've got 5 agents out on the floor. So our resolution team consists of 5 people. But at any one point, we'll have 700,000-800,000 live customer accounts in our system. So every agent is essentially responsible for 150,000 plus customers. So that kind of leans into how efficient and demonstrates how efficient the ecosystem that we're building actually is. We're being able to scale monumentally whilst keeping our team very, very small. Total headcount is 12. So we're a very small team, but the scale of the business, we're growing exceptionally quickly.
You are a very small team. You are a very small team, but no matter what, you have moved office now. You have outgrown your office a couple of times now. I remember
it's
every time I
talk.
New office,
moving office furniture drives you insane.
But as you move,
recently, I'm actually sat in a new room
today.
I'm actually sat in a new room. We've just so because we moved at the beginning of this year, and we'd already started to outgrow it. So we've knocked through into the next room rather than move. We've just put a door in and knocked through into another room. So we've got a new fancy door.
I love it. That's the way to scale.
I'm not moving again. I'll just keep knocking through every wall. Just keep going.
As you have moved from that startup environment and actually now knocking doors down to find a new place to sit, and you move to that scale up, how have you shaped, or how are you shaping both the leader team around you, and how do you match new employees coming into the next growth stages? But I guarantee when I speak with you in a couple of months again, or half a year, you have already moved to the next stage. So how do you shaping the team to that journey?
Yeah, and I think this is because we're in like a critical part of our growth journey now, because we're kind of transitioning from the startup phase into the scale up phase. We've proven what we've got works. The business metrics show that we're onto something. So now it's about future proofing that business. So we've started hiring some more experienced people, some more senior people into the team that are then coming in to kind of set the foundation for that next phase of growth, as we're gearing up for that later this year. So yeah, we're now in a position where we're fortunate enough to bring that experience in. Yeah. It's like I say, I've been learning as I go. I don't claim to be any sort of expert in this field. I've just been learning as I go, seeing what works and doubling down on what I see works. And that's essentially all we've done as a business. And now we're able to bring in more senior, more experienced people that really help setting that foundation. And that's in compliance, in operations, in product. And it is all about then, again, building on our foundation and gearing us up for the next phase of our growth. Because, we've grown organically. And I don't think, myself and my business partners, we refuse to let, if we promise something, we're not going to let clients down. We don't want to be in a position where we're biting off more than we can chew. So far, so good. We're doing really well. We're building some strong relationships with his clients, and we don't want to compromise that.
I think that's also a very good advice to listeners out there sitting in the same situation as Daniel and me. What does operational excellence look like in a company built on empathy? Because then I can say that your company is built on empathy, I guess. So what does excellent operation look like?
So I think for me, and this is one thing that we've hammered on since day one, is it doesn't matter what the outcome is from a customer perspective. It can be anything, as long as it's what they need, then we've done our job. So that's really hammered on day to day in terms of how the operations handle inbound customer engagement. It is prioritizing customers at all times and what they need, and that kind of really leans on the brand. And then I think on the flip side of that, operational excellence to us is as efficient, as streamlined, as automated as possible. And I think, again, that's because we've built with that in mind. That's how we've been able to scale with the team that we've got. The volume of accounts that we're servicing, if the infrastructure wasn't built and set up in the way it was, we'd probably have to have treble the amount of people out there. So that were key. And again, the business would have lived or died on that. If what we built didn't work, we was not in a position to be able to service customers effectively. So we had to make sure what we were building worked. So that's kind of, in terms of operational excellence, it's built with that in mind. We need to be able to scale whatever we're building.
I think you actually, during the last 30 minutes, have actually given a good amount of advice to listeners and founders, etc. But if you try to narrow it a little bit down again, what's your advice to other like startup or founders or SaaS founders that try to enter, that's me, a regulated and traditional industry like a collection? What's the best advice to people like me and people who other SaaS founders with or without maybe a tech background coming into this kind of space? Because I got some shocks on the way when I started. And what advice could you give to other people in yours and mine journey?
Yeah, I think if you come into the table with an idea that you 100% believe in, that you think is 100% going to improve people's lives, you've almost got to be delusional about it. Like people are going to tell you, oh, it might not work. How are you going to do that? What about this? And it's like, so what? Like, I believe in it. It's going to work. Be delusional. Back yourself. Like, people might look at you, and I get it all the time. People are like, what are you on about? And I'm like, trust me, like, failure isn't an option. So to some people, it'll be delusion. To me, it's just reality. And that is essentially, I have been delusional from day one and backed myself from day one. And if you do that, you'll be fine. Take everything as it comes, one step at a time. That's my advice.
I actually took that in, and I think that's a strong advice. And I think believe in what you do. Be a disturber, and be delusional. Go out and eventually they will listen to you. It will take some time, but eventually they will listen.
Yes.
You touched a little bit upon it,
and it will take time.
It will take time. I can see it. It will take time. You said a little bit about it, and I could actually maybe give the answers for the next question, because I think it has something to do with you, Aaron, the team around your whole company today. That leads down to maybe actually answering this question. So how did you earn trust from your earliest client, and especially in this space where trust is everything? So you said a little bit about it, and I think I can answer some of it. Is just like the team you are. People need to believe in the team that they are going in, that want to be a disturber. Is that what happened for you also?
Yeah, well, I think obviously I'm fortunate that I have exceptional business partners, and we all complement each other in different ways. We're all bringing different skill sets to the table. So that together we're very fortunate in that we complement each other, and we work very well together. And then it kind of leans back into, obviously, from the start, me and Aaron have been communicating this message consistently, banging that drum consistently to anybody that would listen. And even if they weren't listening, we still said it. So that consistency of what we're trying to say kind of eventually caught on. And again, it links back into that delusional reality kind of. That was our reality, and people can see that we believed in it, and that's really important. It's one thing saying it, but it's almost turning up every day and doing it is completely different to saying it. So yeah, it's that delusion of we believe in what we're saying here, and it catches on. People pick up on that, and I think that's how, especially in those early days, we were able to convince people to take a bit of a punt on us. And then once people, we obviously didn't take that belief from them lightly. It was then, well, they believed in us, so let's make sure that we absolutely deliver everything that we promised and everything that we spoke about. And we're not compromising on that. We've said we'll do this, we will do it. And that's kind of how we built the business, little by little, proving ourselves.
Love it. What's the one thing that you would wish someone else had told you about selling in to this space that you are now in before you started? One thing that you would wish somebody have told you. What could that be?
Well, there's quite a lot of things that I wish people had told me just about starting a business in general. But I think the patience element of running the business. Have you gone?
No, I'm here. Can you see me still? Can you see me?
There you go.
It's fine. We will clip it afterwards.
My head just went big. I was like, whoa.
No, we clip it. So just.
Yeah, I think because the sales cycle in this industry is very long.
Yeah.
There's a lot of feeling out the market. There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of compliance hoops that organizations have to work through. So the sales cycle is very long. So for a man like me that had very few pennies and needed to make sure we could keep the lights on, that was quite frustrating. But again, it's just, you've got to believe that you will get there. You've got to be consistent with it, and you've just got to keep plugging away, keep having those conversations. But yeah, that's probably
that would be a one. That would be a one. I wish that you have told me. Yeah. I wish that you have told me that from the beginning also. Because it's a long one.
That's the biggest one.
It's a long one, and we try to figure
we
out.
Get there, don't we? We get there.
Yeah, no, it will get better. We talked also, no, maybe it's a 6 month sales cycle. It's not at all. It's a lot longer. But that's a good advice. No, but it is good to know, and especially in a space where people, they have to look, and especially when you try to disturb a market with something they haven't seen before, I think it gets even more complicated. So here on the last round,
I think on that point.
Yeah.
Just on that point, sorry, what you see there is, because it's a heavily regulated environment, you get a lot of potential clients that are watching from a distance to see, all right, they've only just started. Are they going to still be there in 3 years? Are they still going to be there in 4 years? So they'll have an eye on you. People will see what you're doing, but you just might not quite fit their criteria yet. And that's why I kind of say we're now gearing up for that next phase of growth into scale up, because we've proven the concept now, we've proven the business model now. So we're in a much better position to be able to kind of start looking at this next tier, this next phase of client.
Beautiful so far. Like 5 here in the end of the episode. 5 questions, 5 short answers to it. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for innovation in collection over the next 5 years?
5 years. So I think short-term biggest opportunity is still sits. I still think we've only just scratched the surface around brand and language and how we position that collection to the average consumer. So short to medium term, there's still a lot of groundwork that we can do in terms of strategy and positioning of the industry.
Yeah.
Obviously, I need to mention AI here, because I mentioned earlier that whilst we're very cautious with it, the speed in which it's developing is monumental. So you can't ignore that. And I think that's why 5 years from now is probably difficult, because 6 months ago, no one had predicted we have what we have now in terms of these AI models. So it's moving that quickly. There's a lot of opportunity in there, but I couple that with words of caution around
that's a good advice,
and how we best utilize that.
Yeah, and it's funny that we mentioned it's difficult to say 5 years ahead, and it is with the speed that it has now. But I asked somebody else the other day what happened the last 12 years, and he said not a lot. Mostly was just the same. So you can see, I think it's coming now, the narrative, the one that you are doing, the journey, the self-service environment, AI, that's coming now in an industry and haven't changed a lot over the 2 decades that
I agree.
So biggest mistake you made building your company? What was the biggest mistake, the biggest fuck up you did building your company?
Oh God, I've made loads. Biggest one, don't know. It's a good question. There's been a few. I think some of the there has been a few, but I think for us it's about just learning. The mistakes are lessons, essentially. So learn from them and build on that.
Accept them.
I'm trying to think of an exact.
They will be there now.
Yeah, well, it's part of building a business. I think some stuff works, some stuff don't, and especially when you're trying to do things differently, you're never going to get it right. we didn't have a blueprint on what we were trying to build. So it is a lot of trial and error. So yeah, there's been some mistakes. I can't think of a huge example. I have to leave it with me. Let me think on that.
No, it's fine. But as you said, I think a good takeaway is
there will be
a lot of them, a lot of fuck ups, a lot of mistakes, a lot of things. The important thing is to learn from it and take it with 100%. You on your journey. Yeah. Now you just been on a little tent trip with your, and that was not like that enjoyable, and then it became a little enjoyable. And you're a busy guy normally, so I don't know how many books you read. But if you read books somehow, somewhere, sometime, what book, what kind of mental model, what kind of podcast, what kind of principle do you want that you think shape you thinking the way you think as a founder? Was there something previous that was like, not that COVID came and then you looked at something, was there something that like triggered that for you? Some books?
So there were a few bits, and I think what I'm drawn to people that do things a little bit differently, and then they're not afraid to show that they think differently, because I think that's hurdle number one. You can have all the ideas in the world, but if you're not willing to put them out to the world to be critiqued, then it doesn't matter. So I think that's kind of what I'm drawn to, individuals like that are willing to bear all and take any opinion in the stride. So that's kind of what I try to do every day, and doesn't always land. I get told I'm bonkers by people here all the time. So it doesn't always land, but sometimes it does. So that's kind of that's how I try to model our business on. Anyway, be bold. Be bold.
I love it. Last question. What's one thing that you would never compromise, no matter what, in your phase of scaling your business? What's one thing you would never compromise? You have said a little bit of it down the road here about your customer.
Resolution, not collection.
Yeah, that's one thing. Perfect. You couldn't say it better. You couldn't put up. You couldn't put up. Let's say it one more time, because it's actually.
Yes.
So you would not do.
Resolution, not collection. Yeah. No compromise whatsoever on that value. Whatsoever, and that comes with its challenges as you scale and things. The organization grows and the customer base grows. It's hard to keep on top of that, but if that is the almost the founding belief, and that is what we're going to use as the benchmark for everything that we do, we'll do all right. But no compromise on that.
I love that as a finish line. That was Daniel Calcott showing us what it means to build with integrity in fintech. Daniel, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate your time and insight in the new way of doing things. Thanks a lot, Daniel, and have a good one.
Thanks, Martin. Speak soon.
We will.